we are.
We are on the air, and welcome to Superintendent Spotlight. It is Thursday, September 19th. And the good news is that Tiger's Pride restaurant is open.
Oh, excellent.
For the first time this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so today they're serving up, and look I even have the menu up on my phone.
Yes, you do.
Rather than printing it and saving paper. So their soups today are New England clam chowder. They make a great clam chowder here. And chicken gumbo. What is that?
I think
it's gumbo.
What's gumbo,
yeah,
Pete?
Pete, what's gumbo?
It's a Cajun soup.
Cajun.
Yeah, gumbo.
So it's got spicy.
It's got the Trinity.
Yeah.
It's got some spice. Probably not a lot of spice because we's up north. But it's got some spice, and it's got the Cajun Trinity.
All right.
Which is celery, onions, and carrots.
Celery, onions, and carrots. All right, and then their entrees, or their salad is a chicken Caesar salad, which is always good. Their entrees are a vegetable lo mein stir fry or a personal pepperoni pizza, and the sandwich special is a patty melt. Grilled hamburger with caramelized onions, Dijonnaise, and cheddar cheese melted on your choice of bread, served with chef's side and a pickle. I wonder if it's macaroni salad for the side. That is my favorite,
Could be.
They're also open, by the way, tomorrow. So tomorrow, the soups and the salad are the same, but the entrees, they have sautéed chicken piccata and Dijon crusted pork tenderloin.
Yum.
Yum. That's a good way to start our morning and get you hungry. Of course, they always have their half sandwich, half soup special for $6.95. That's terrific. So stop by Tiger's Pride, 10:45 to 12:15. And if you want to call for more information, 564-3123. And I have that number memorized after all these years.
Oh, I would think so.
Yes,
I would think so.
Absolutely. So today tomorrow, I think, maybe today, National Concussion Awareness Day. And I think it's a great topic to talk about, given a lot of reasons, right? But there's been some recent concussions in the news, right, Mr. Rogers? That we see players getting in the big leagues, if you will.
Yeah, the NFL, of course, is I hate to say it, it's kind of concussion king, right? It's something their players deal with regularly. Same at the NCAA level. And football is probably. Right, Greg? Is Greg Voros, our athletic director for Westfield Public Schools. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning. Great to be here.
And Liz Flaherty, nurse extraordinaire. Liz has kind of done it all in our district, health and safety supervisor, and currently now the nurse at Pathways and Westfield Intermediate School. So how are you, Liz?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
First time on the show, right?
Absolutely.
All
So
right.
what's cool is that's what they're seeing at home.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, there you go. So, we're in the studio, but with the green screen and chroma key, we have all this cool technology that changes the view. And then, of course, if you're listening on the radio, all you hear is our voices. But,
Oh, that's okay.
yeah, it is. But, I want to go back to concussions. So,
Sure.
as a Dolphins fan, Tua Tagovailoa is out now. He's on injured reserve. The Dolphins put him on that.
Which is at least 4 weeks.
That he'll be out. Not thrilled with that Skylar Thompson is our alternative, but I'm not going to go on the sports piece. I want to go on the concussion
Absolutely.
piece because Tua has had, 3?
This is either 3 or 4. Right, Greg? I think it's he's pushing. He's kind of pushing it from a medical perspective.
Yeah, I think 3 in the NFL and another in college.
In college. I think it's 4. Yeah.
But he says he's not retiring.
Yeah, he did say that, which
surprised me a little bit.
Yeah.
How many concussions? I mean, so, when you talk about concussions and concussion awareness, Liz, and I don't remember growing up hearing this much about concussions, right?
We really didn't. It was a ding. It was, they got their bell rung.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we went right back
And you're
into the
right
game.
back in your play.
Yep.
And in 2002, I think it was BU, there was a doctor, there's the movie Concussion, and that's actually, a dramatic portrayal of something that actually happened. He noticed when he did an autopsy on a former player, I think Wilson, I could be wrong, sort of the changes in his brain that were very abnormal for somebody his age. He was, I think, maybe 50. And then he did a lot of research from 2002 to 2005 and then released his research in 2005. And that was sort of when concussions exploded because now there was this scientific stuff to back up all the things. And so, when we grew up, we got our bell rung, and we went right back in, and they realized this is really problematic.
Yeah.
And you talked about the football player. I am confident that he got his bell rung more than once in college, in high school too.
Oh, no question.
But maybe they weren't keeping as close track as we do now.
Is it, and this is a question out of not knowing the answer to that. Are some people more prone to concussions than others? Is that is that a thing? Or, because there are some people you don't hear about getting them at all, and maybe they're just not diagnosed. Because look at every time you see a quarterback getting sacked, and a lot of times they're getting their bell rung, if you will, when they're getting hit. Are some people more apt to get them, or is there no info on that?
I think that everybody's brain is slightly different.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so I think, whether people are prone to concussions or not, I think that might be the wrong verbiage. It's just whether or not they end up being symptomatic.
Okay.
Right.
So that's a great lead into what are the symptoms of a concussion?
So really, there's 4 areas that a concussion can impact. We've
Okay.
got the physical. You might have some visual changes. You might have, neurologic changes, headaches, that kind of thing. Cognitive changes.
Sure.
You feel fuzzy or foggy.
Foggy.
Emotional changes. People tend to be either highly emotional or not able to engage in emotion at all if they're concussed. And sleep disturbance. So some people need to sleep a lot. Some people can't fall asleep. So it's sort of all over the board, but those are the 4 main areas: the physical, cognitive, emotional, and the sleep areas.
Are there levels of concussions? Like, is there a severe to not
Well,
severe?
I think that they don't grade them really anymore, but I
Okay.
think that it's more because it's so individualized. So a mild concussion, you may take a seat for a week or what have you and be fine. Some people feel the symptoms a lot longer. Some people don't. Some feel really long-term, and it becomes like a post-concussive syndrome kind of thing.
Right. Right.
Can it last forever?
I suppose it can. I
Wow.
suppose that people can live with, symptoms. They've had headaches ever since they had a concussion. Like, people can live with the symptoms forever.
Yeah, like it's not unheard of for someone to have a big time head injury, and then, like Liz said, suffer migraines over headaches over an extended period of time, years.
Right. Or like light sensitivity,
Or
something
light,
where they're
or
always,
light sensitivity.
you know.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Huh.
But again, we were talking about athletics, right? In contact sports, they're called contact sports for a reason, right? And I think part of what we're trying to do is not just diagnose the concussion when it happens, but we're also trying to prevent it from happening in the first place.
Yeah, and that's, in the world of high school athletics, that's our main focus is how our students return to play, properly.
What's
So-
the clearance to be able to go back
Yeah.
to play or to do, like, what do you have to do to be able to, I don't know I'm not sure I'm asking the right question, but you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you know it's okay to go back?
Well, there is a concussion protocol.
There is a concussion protocol, and it actually begins before a concussion takes place, where
correct.
we have a pre-assessment of each student that they complete twice during their high school career. So
Yes.
it's every 2 years.
Every 2
we do
years.
a baseline concussion test for every student. That way, if they do happen to, unfortunately, get a concussion, we have that baseline to refer back to when they are within that return to play protocol, which is a 5-day step-by-step process within athletics. So once a student that has a concussion is cleared to participate, they begin that 5-day protocol. And each day has certain steps that need to be adhered to. And if not, if you don't pass a certain day, you go back to the previous day. So it does take time, but we're as careful as
You want to be
we can
safe.
be. Yeah, we try to be. Yeah, and I think as we've been talking about, every concussion and every situation is different, and different folks respond differently to different pieces of the concussion and the return to play protocol as well.
So we talk about contact sports and football, but both Chris and I are Yankees fans, and their first baseman, Anthony Rizzo, last year had a concussion, and I don't know that he came back. I don't think he was never the hitter he was before that.
Yeah,
Is that a fair statement?
at the time it was actually a series against the San Diego Padres at home, and it was a late May series, right around Memorial Day. And at the time, not that this is really relevant, but at the time he was hitting about 320, 330. He had already had about 13 or 14 home runs that early in the year. He was
Right. He was
really
on
having
fire.
a good season. And on a pickoff play to first base, he tried to catch an errant throw, and Fernando Tatis, through no fault of his own, was trying to get back to first base.
Right.
And Tatis's hip collided with Rizzo's skull, and you could tell almost immediately something was wrong. He stayed in the game. He played. He finished.
Well, and that's the right.
Right. He stayed in the game, and he actually played like another week, and then they did mess that one up, and he was out for an extended period. And he said when he came back from the injury, there were times when he was seeing 3 balls coming at him when he was at the plate. So there was no reason. That was no wonder he was hitting about 110. Well, he was trying to hit the one in the middle. Right? Like Mickey said to Rocky famously, right? I see 3 of them out there. Hit the one in the middle. Right? So it's a very serious, it's not a joke. Like,
and well, it's not just football is my point.
Oh, yeah.
And people can get concussions outside of sports, too.
Of course.
I mean, you could fall out of your chair. It always gets me when people rock back on their chair. Like, you know, not the ones like this that actually moves back, but like a regular chair.
Oh, yeah. And that's happened to me like 3 times, I might have.
I fell that one time, hit a concrete wall, saw stars, maybe even had a concussion. But back in the day, you didn't go get checked out.
When
I couldn't do it.
When I was a goalie in high school, one time trying to make a save, I hit head first into the iron bar of the goal.
Ouch! Ow!
You know, bang, and I clearly remember seeing stars.
Yeah.
There were all, you know.
Did you stay in the game, by the way?
Liz, what do they call those?
Yeah, what is
floaters,
those?
Right?
Floaters
the
and you had visual, you had flashing and.
No question. I didn't come out of the game. In fact, I don't even remember my coach asking me if I was okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
So that begs the question, Greg. A student athlete may be so committed to the game, they may not. You know, Anthony Rizzo, so committed to the game, he didn't take his own health and safety. So what are some of the protocols that we have in place for that for our student athletes?
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the process, right, where we, you know, are training our coaches and even our athletes to learn the signs of a concussion. And every student that registers for sports is required to take a concussion course. Their parents can take it as well, and it just raises awareness, but it's something that our coaches have to do as well. We also have athletic trainers on site at both schools that are, you know, have really good training and are as overcautious as you would want. And they're very careful about putting a student back into a game, especially if there is an incident that is in question. And there's a, you know, test that we do right on the field. And if there's an issue, we're holding that player out. And if they can return without the concussion protocol, that's great. But we don't want to, we err on the side of caution. And our athletic trainers do an amazing job at that.
So, Liz, if you get a student who may have been hit on the head and they think may have a concussion, what do you as a nurse do? What are the things that you would do?
So if they've presented and they've never been checked out, that is an automatic call to the parent with documented paperwork from a doctor so that they are checked out. You know, we have, you know, we do neuro checks, we do our basic assessment of them, but if somebody is complaining of symptoms and they haven't been checked out by a doctor and put on protocols, we can't put the protocols into place. That's medically driven, not nurse driven.
Right.
And they may need some accommodations just to be able to return to school and return to learn.
Well, because it's going to affect their schoolwork too.
100%.
If you're seeing 3 or whatever.
100%.
And the cognitive part you talked about.
Right.
You know,
And we did develop a really solid academic
really solid
accommodations plan, but it is in concert with the doctor, and that ensures that the child is having regular care.
Right.
And then, you know, Greg, once they return to learn, they can start return to play. But can you speak about how that happens? Like, I'm really unsure of that because I'm not in the high school athletic game.
No, great question. Once they're medically cleared to come back,
and that comes from the doctor, just
comes
to be
from the doctor, correct.
Right, not from us.
Well, I just want to had to make that
No,
point.
that's a good point, Stefan.
Yeah.
It's not like one of our coaches is like, hey, you're good to go.
Hey, you're on the iron bar?
Getting the
We need you today.
football
Get in there.
tomorrow.
Yeah, you're playing.
Right.
That was 2 decades ago.
That was exactly. You're right, Pete.
And I think that's part of it, though, is the signs of the concussion, where we, you know, perhaps growing up in, you know, older generations, it's not something that you're pulling someone off the field for. It's the opposite oftentimes, where you're saying, oh, you're fine, you can play through that. And that's where we want to step in and make sure we're doing our due diligence. So once a student is cleared to come back, we initiate that 5-day protocol, which begins with...
So we add, just to be clear, they get it clear from the doctor. We put a 5-day protocol in place in addition to that, just to be sure.
Yes.
That's comforting, right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
That we're doing the right thing.
Well, we're talking about developing brains, and athletics is so important for children who are athletically inclined. We want to make sure that their developing brain gets the benefit of everything, academics and sports.
Right.
Yeah, and they're watched, and the process is something that we're not sending you off on your own. Oftentimes we begin with a pre-activity assessment that first day. We may initiate a stationary bike ride, something slow, and if the response to that is good, day 2 we come back and extend that bike ride maybe a few minutes, start to build up, maybe a light jog, and then we can get on to day 3 where you can now get into some skill-based activities as you try to come back. We probably don't want to be throwing balls at somebody.
Not yet.
Not yet.
In that case,
Yeah,
but we're getting closer. Day 4 can be initiating a full-length practice. But again, we're limiting it to low-risk, maybe even no-risk activities. 45 minutes, we're not going like for a 2
No,
hour
we're not going
hours,
full
yeah.
pads.
no,
Right,
not
yeah.
quite, and then that day 5 is when we're saying, okay, let's come back full, essentially, and that is still a step, that day 5, and if you're good to go, we can return that following day. So it's not quite a week, but we have that timeline built in to make sure, that we're doing our best according to the protocol.
Absolutely.
Is that custom for all districts, do you think, pretty much?
It's pretty customary. Yeah, there may be some differences here and there, but generally you're seeing these return-to-play protocols in place at most high schools at this point.
That's a good thing.
And is that coming directly from the MIAA too, or?
Mostly recommended,
Recommended,
but then within our own groups, and we do follow other concussion education where the concussion course that all of our students take is through the National Federation of High Schools, the NFHS. So that course that's developed there is something that, we're taking we're not just taking our opinion or what we think we should do to get you back.
We're following
onto the field.
sound advice, really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Time
right.
for a break.
Yeah, it is. Pete, we're going to play our first song. So the rule is that we play 4 songs. These songs were all in the top 100 of a given year. So they're all from the same year.
Let me get out my phone real quick.
No.
No.
And the first song was number 26 in the year that we're looking for. You ready, Pete?
Number 26.
In the middle of the night, I go walking in my sleep. From the mountains of fame to the river so deep. I must be looking for something sacred I lost. But the river is wide and it's too hard to cross. Even though I know the river is wide, I walk down every evening and stand on the shore. I try and rush to the opposite side so I can finally find what I've been looking for. In the middle of the night, I go walking in my sleep through the valley of fear to a river so deep. I'm searching for something taken out of my soul, something I'd never lose, something somebody stole. I don't know why I go walking at night, but now I'm tired and I don't want to walk anymore. Hope it doesn't take the rest of my life until I find what it is I've been looking for. In the middle of the night, I go walking in my sleep through the jungle of doubt to the river so deep. I know I'm searching for something so undefined that it can only be seen by the eyes of the blind. In the middle of the night.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
And welcome back to Superintendent Spotlight. That was Billy Joel and the River of Dreams. Do you remember that song? It doesn't seem that old to me, but it's kind of old. I'm not going to lie.
I definitely remember the song, but as we were saying off the air, thank goodness we have 3 more songs to deduce the year.
That was right around the time my brother graduated from high school because I was playing that at a lot of his parties with his buddies.
River of Dreams?
Yes.
Has Billy Joel had a hit since? Is that a fair question?
Didn't he have one like last year?
Yes, he did.
He did?
Like last year he released a song that became a hit.
He's like 70-something, isn't he, Pete?
Yeah. I would say so, yeah.
All of these people are like in their 70s.
He was
that
hitting
I
in the
remember
60s,
growing
so.
up listening to their music. And I'm not in my 70s, but, well, some days it feels like it. But,
You don't know that yet.
Yeah, there you go. So, we're talking about concussions, and National Concussion Awareness Day is recognized the third Friday of each September yearly. So it's actually tomorrow. It'll be recognized on September 20th. But I thought it was an important topic to talk about because you're hearing a lot about them. They've certainly come to the forefront in terms of not only student athletes, but I think professional athletes.
Oh, for sure.
And again, you think it's always football, but it isn't necessarily that, right? Concussions are commonly associated with sports accidents, but they can be brought on by other non-sporting activities like motor vehicle collisions,
Oh, for sure.
a fall, or even a bicycle accident.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
if
gosh,
you
yes.
fall off your bike, right, which isn't necessary. I mean, I guess it's sort of sporting activities. But, a lot of people think that concussions have become a plague in the United States with increased cases of mild traumatic brain injuries happening each year. And these traumatic brain injuries are classified as head injuries or injuries to a part of the head resulting from damage to the brain by an external mechanical force or a stroke or infection. So it does not have to be that you hit your head, right, Liz?
It does not. It does not. There are other avenues that your brain can be damaged.
So you could get into a car accident, not hit your head, right?
Right,
And
like
then-
you could be restrained and still get
so
a
even
concussion.
the force of the seatbelt holding you can cause your head to go. So that's not just in life, but that's also in athletics. You don't actually have to be hit on the head.
Yeah, that whiplash effect.
Whiplash.
And really, it temporarily affects functioning of the brain, or maybe not so
Well,
temporarily in some
that's
cases, right?
that's the truth because what we're talking about is it's a brain injury, right? It's a literal injury to your brain.
It could be a life-threatening head injury, though, right? It's not
100%.
And I think that's why medical attention is absolutely required when that happens, which goes back to what you were saying. It's not a nurse thing, it's a medical thing.
Right.
And I think, that's important. Symptoms can last really up to 2 weeks.
Severe symptoms, and that's with treatment.
That's
it
right.
can
With
last
treatment.
up to 2 weeks.
Untreated, it can last. So it can last.
Well, I mean, think about your brain. And I think off the air, Chris had said something about, it's really easy to see a black eye. It's really easy to see somebody's knee bound up. Your brain is inside your skull. Nobody sees it. And think about all of that trauma, except it's inside your head.
It's in your head. And Greg, we were talking a little bit before the show, and we talked about how that feels even for a student or an athlete on any team. Yep. Because, again, you can see if I have a sprained ankle, I probably am wearing some sort of brace, or a broken arm, I'm wearing a cast and probably a sling. But with a concussion, you don't look injured, right?
Oftentimes not. And that's part of the Concussion Awareness Day and, initiative that we're talking about here, where if your teammate doesn't have visible signs of an injury, that does not mean that they're good to go and they're ready to come back. And, you may feel that peer pressure as the student who has the brain injury, but it's not apparent. So that can become difficult if we're not raising awareness before these injuries.
Yeah, well, someone might say, why isn't Chris playing?
Right, exactly.
What's wrong with Chris?
Exactly.
Why
Why is that student not in school again? Why aren't they here again? Like, we're not sure, necessarily if you're good one day, you might not be feeling great the next
Right,
day.
exactly.
And that's what we try to emphasize with our students and our teams, and have our coaches relay that message that these are.
Well, and that's kind of the case with any. That's why we talked about it being a medical issue. That's kind of the case with any medical issue someone's going through. They may have good days and not so good days. Why would we expect a concussion to be any different?
Absolutely.
Can a concussion? So if I have a concussion and I get hit again in the head,
You're compounding the brain injury.
and so that's bad. Clearly,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that.
Well, I mean, I think we really do have to jump back to these are developing brains. And if
Yeah.
you look at the developmental level of high school players, they are going to feel peer pressure. To Greg's point, they are
yeah.
going to feel like they are letting people down or they need to get back at no matter the cost.
Right.
Because you don't want to let your teammates down.
Right.
That is,
And-
and that's a pressure point as well.
Sure, and you talked about the Dolphins quarterback. Oh, he's not going to retire. We've sort of now have 20 years of research that supports that he probably will have later in life symptoms that will impact his ability to live a full and productive life.
I think you see that
Well, and-
with many NFL players.
Right.
But
and-
again, the
yeah.
pressure.
Well, that's
Well, and the money you're getting paid.
well.
The millions and millions and
Well,
millions.
that's
but I think
why-
Tua has enough
yeah,
I
he-
feel
he
like he
does.
could
Yeah,
probably
he does,
retire comfortably.
I just feel badly
But
for
that's
him.
the thing with athletes, and we talk about this all the time. Sometimes you have to protect the athlete from himself or herself, right? Because that their first inclination is to get back on the field, right? I remember my senior year of high school, I came down with a case of mononucleosis during baseball season, where we were like going to the state champ.
Oh,
like,
boy.
The doctor wanted me out for weeks. I missed 2 games. I told my coach, I'm ready, put me in. There's no way I'm not playing. He put me in.
Right.
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 And we got to the state finals.
Yeah, and as athletes, you're trained to kind of push through some of that stuff. The normal bumps and bruises, like they're going to happen. If you play 3 games in a week, like some of our teams are getting to the end of this week, we have some injuries that are, student athletes are banged up. They want to play, and it's up to us to make sure they're not going to further injure themselves. But when
Absolutely.
it comes to something like this that is not visible and it's harder to gauge and it's harder to see, especially from your teammates and coaches, and you have that mentality, I'm playing no matter what. This is something that we have to, as the adults and the people that
Correct.
are here to protect our students, we have to step in and try to be that voice of reason.
Well, and you see professional athletes play through injuries regularly.
Oh, gosh,
And
yes.
if those are your role models, then you think it's perfectly okay. Like, I mean, I think of NFL players again. I'm not trying to pick on the NFL, but I think that's the biggest one. You've got people playing through regular injuries, running backs, wide receivers, defense, everybody playing through
Well,
injuries.
and-
Quarterbacks.
And on the prevention side of it, we've talked about it a little bit, and I know we're doing this, I believe, at the high school too, where in practices now, most high school, college, and professional teams are wearing, what do they call those things, Greg? The on top of the helmet,
The
right?
Guardian cap.
The Guardian cap.
Highly recommended, I would
Yes.
think. We're seeing more and more of them.
So what does that look
out
like?
there.
What is that like?
Yeah.
It's a helmet on top of the helmet? Like, what is it?
Yeah, it's a softer cushioned helmet that enlarges the size of the helmet that you're wearing, and it lessens the blow. Of a
reduces the
head-to-head,
impact, so the
especially the head-to-head stuff. Or in Tua's case, his head seemed to hit a bone, perhaps of
his chest.
of Damar Hamlin,
Damar
his
Hamlin.
chest, right?
Who incidentally had a heart attack
Yeah.
Right.
on the field. I was watching that game the year before.
Yeah.
I mean, these life's little ironies. You're just like, wow, how does that happen?
Yeah, Hamlin didn't hit him. Tua
really.
ran
Not
into
really, I
Hamlin,
think-
and Hamlin was
Sort of a normal play, right?
Yeah, I don't think it was a vicious play.
No, not at all. It was not one of those blatant head-to-head targeting.
No.
There they are. They're
There-
the Guardian caps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Thanks,
we go.
Pete.
Yeah.
That's why we love Pete.
And he brought the Dolphins up too.
He did. That was good. So even NFL players are using that?
Oh gosh, yes.
Some are. Some,
Every practice.
Some players. practices. Some ex-players.
Can you
have
not play with that in a game? I'm just
You
asking.
can play in a game. Some of the ex-players have said, I would never wear that. You know what I mean? So there's still that
Peer
stigma
pressure.
to
Right,
well,
right.
right. And again, like we want to play through injuries. I've played through injuries as an athlete.
Absolutely.
And it's like, are you hurt? Are you injured?
I'm fine.
If the-
I'm fine, coach.
Right.
Let me in. Put me in. I'm
And
fine.
that's a good
Great,
point.
no problem.
That's a good
threshold
point.
or
Yep.
yeah.
All right, we're going to take our second break because we have some songs to listen to. This next song is number 31 in the year that we're looking for.
Number 31.
Go ahead, man. Here, have $1. In fact, no, brother man, here, have $2. $2 means a snack for me, but it means a big deal to you. Be strong, serve God only. Know that if you do, beautiful heaven awaits. That's the poem I wrote for the first time. I saw a man with no clothes, no money, no plate, Mr. Wendell. That's his name. No one ever knew his name, cause he's a no one. Never thought twice about spending on an old bum until I had the chance to really get to know one. Now that I know him, to give him money isn't charity. He gives me some knowledge, I buy him some shoes. And to think blacks spend all their money on big colleges, still most of y'all come out confused. Go ahead, Mr. Wendell. Go ahead, Mr. Wendell. Mr. Wendell has freedom, a free that you and I think is dumb. Free to be without the worries of a quick-to-diss society, for Mr. Wendell's a bum. His only worries are sickness and an occasional harassment by the police in their chase. Uncivilized we call him, but I just saw him eat off the food we waste. Civilization, are we really civilized? Yes or no? Who are we to judge when thousands of innocent men could be brutally enslaved or killed over a racist grudge? Mr. Wendell has tried to warn us about our ways, but we don't hear him talk. Is it his fault when we've gone too far, and we got too far, cause on him we've walked? Mr. Wendell, a man, a human in flesh, but not by law. I feed you dignity to stand with pride. Realize that all in all, you stand tall. Go ahead, Mr. Wendell. Mr. Wendell, yeah. Yeah, Mr. Wendell. Mr. Wendell, yeah. Lord. Mr. Wendell. Mr. Wendell, Mr. Wendell, yeah, Lord, Mr. Wendell, Mr. Wendell, yeah, Lord, Mr. Wendell.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Superintendent Spotlight. We've been talking so much about concussions, we've only gotten 2 songs in so far.
I know,
It's
that's
already
unbelievable.
9:41, so we're going to have a quick thing, and then we
Quick
have to play
segment.
the third.
Right.
But here's some 5 facts about epidemiology you need to know. Wasn't that a good look up right
I
there?
really
Okay.
am very impressed.
There you go. Okay. It affects more young children. Young children have the highest concussion rate among all age groups. Does that surprise anybody?
I don't think so. Young kids fall.
A lot.
They trip and they
Yep.
fall.
And their head is bigger than their body.
That's
They're
correct.
rated differently.
That's right.
Yes. It is severe in adult males. Males suffer at about twice the rate of their female counterparts.
Hence, football, boxing, wrestling.
Oh, we're getting to boxing.
Motorcycles,
Right. Motorcycles.
high risk
Yep.
activity.
Right.
Yep.
It is a common sport injury. American football, rugby, boxing. We're going to talk about boxing in a second. MMA, what's that?
Mixed martial arts.
Okay. They get hit, take a lot of hits to the
Oh, that's just two guys or two women in a cage trying to.
It's
trying
like
to kill
cross
trying to kill each
wrestling
other.
and boxing.
You might as well be a gladiator in
Yeah.
Roman times.
Really? Is
Oh,
that
yeah,
what
no,
it is?
seriously, right, Pete? Without
Pretty
weapons,
much, yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
Jeez. It targets athletes, too. Female athletes have a higher risk of suffering a concussion than male athletes. Why is that?
Mostly soccer players.
Right?
The neck strength. There
Okay.
is- It's a lot of it's a lot of muscular development.
Absolutely, and I want to piggyback what Pete just said. A lot of people minimize soccer. Trust me, that sport, you're hitting the ball purposely with your head.
Yeah, how can that be good?
repeatedly? Okay, so
that
And there's
good?
a lot of player-on-player
Player
collisions.
contact.
Yeah, a lot
Yep.
of player-on-player collisions. Yeah.
We're seeing head balls being, outlawed at in certain places, certain age groups. at
Really?
this
That's
point.
coming?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes, listen, I played soccer, too, a little bit, and you hit the ball. That can be hard.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, ow.
Oh, yeah. You try heading the ball coming at you 50, 60, 70 miles an hour and try to redirect it with your head. See how that goes.
Just part of the game.
Yeah,
too.
that's right.
It is.
Yeah.
And then it did almost cause a boxing ban because there are a lot of medical groups that have called for a ban on the sport due to persistent concussion cases. And think about, boxing has probably got to be, we've been talking about football. What about boxing?
Well, and anybody who's a trained boxer or a fighter will tell you that the object of that sport is to not get hit. Yes, it's to hit your opponent, but it's to not get hit.
Well, there's been, I think of Muhammad Ali.
Right.
I don't know if he can speak. I'm not trying to be.
He couldn't. No, he had degenerative brain disease.
Yeah, he did.
Right. And how many hits to the head can we take?
Some things happen. Also, professional wrestlers have that problem.
Oh, they've got
Actors-
professional wrestlers have ton of CTE. Ton of CTE.
Actors who do their own stunts
Oh,
have
yeah.
that problem as well.
And so I wasn't going to, but I'm going to now because today's the 19th, and I think today is the day that there's another thing on Aaron Hernandez.
Oh, yeah, on
That's
FX.
on FX that's released. And the only reason I'm asking is because he suffered from some head trauma too, correct?
He did.
I'm not sure I ever told anybody. My father coached Aaron Hernandez.
You never told us.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, look at that.
Aaron Hernandez is from Bristol, Connecticut.
Yes, he
where
is.
Where I was born. Okay, and my father was his basketball coach for years. And my dad, God rest his soul, would always say, this kid is the most amazing athlete you've ever seen. However, right, he's dealing with a lot. He's
at
dealing
home.
with
But
a lot.
I think what you see, and there have been other players, Junior Seau was one of them,
Oh,
and a bunch of them. Think
absolutely.
about some of the players that later in life developed this CTE, which is probably from getting hit in the head too many times.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is. And you know who I was? Sugar Ray Leonard. I know that he was probably better than some of the other boxers that you see, but I think
Yeah.
it's affecting a lot of boxers, right?
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah, the shelf life for a professional boxer or even a professional football player it's like 3 or 4 years. It's that you can't, the human body was not designed, the brain was not designed to take that kind of beating. It just isn't.
brutal. Boxing still occurs clearly, but when I was growing up, boxing was huge. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Is it as big now? I don't.
That could be partially due to this type of conversation. Could be the sport too, where the belts are so spread out, and it's just not unified enough, perhaps. But I think the younger generations getting involved in boxing, I'm sure that's come down a little bit as that sport.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, your goal, like you said, is to not get hit.
Right.
I even think of Rocky Balboa. I know just Sylvester Stallone played the role. You knew that he had been hit in the head a few times. Let's be fair. All right, Pete, it's already 9:45. I want to take our third break. This is number 50 on the song that on the year that we're looking for. Number 50.
Number 50.
still trying to get up that great big hill of hope for a destination. I realized quickly when I knew I should that the world was made up of this brotherhood of man, for whatever that means. Into a crisis times when I'm lying in bed just to get it all out what's in my head, and I am feeling a little peculiar. And so I wake in the morning and I step outside and I take a deep breath and I get real high and I scream from the top of my lungs, what's going on? And I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? And I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? And I try. Oh my God, do I try? I try all the time in this institution. And I pray. Oh my God, do I pray? I pray every single day for revolution. Into a crisis times when I'm lying in bed just to get it all out what's in my head, and I am feeling a little peculiar. Into a wake in the morning and I step outside and I take a deep breath and I get real high and I scream from the top of my lungs, what's going on? And I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? And I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? And I said, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? Ooh. 25 years and my life is still trying to get up that great big hill of hope for a destination.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England. Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
So that was What's Up by the Four Non-Blondes, and it was number 50. The last song I can't play because it's like 35 minutes. It's I Would Do Anything for Love by Meatloaf.
It's only 5 minutes in the era of 4 or 5 minute songs. Everything was like 4 or 5 minutes back then.
Yeah.
No, that Meatloaf. This song is longer though.
I think there's a longer version.
I think there's the extended version.
Yeah, the single cut was 5 minutes and 13 seconds.
which is still long for a show.
Yes.
Like you can't like even for making the list, Pete. That would be kind of long. I
Yeah.
think, you know. But what's the other one that he did that was like really long? Something about a dashboard light. Come on, help me out.
Paradise by Dashboard Light.
That's a long song, isn't it?
That's like 7 or 8 minutes.
I think
or eight
he was he was known for that, right? The long
The
song.
long songs. Well, now he's dead. I'm sorry to be, but he died of COVID.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I had to ask.
Yeah, Meatloaf did, yeah.
I don't know how old he was, but I mean,
70-something.
Oh, 70-something, yeah. So that was one of the groups. So when we think about that now, what is your guess, Pete, for the year that? And I want to say these are good songs today. I just want to
Like I said, I was playing these when my brother was partying, so that was just after high school. I'm thinking 1993.
All right, Liz, what's your guess?
I think it's either 93 or 94.
Gotta choose one.
3.
3. Chris?
93.
Greg?
I think 93 too. Could be 94, but I know I'm fairly confident it's in that range. One of those two.
It's 93. You
Yeah.
all did great
Yeah.
today. That's a good one. We haven't had like a unanimous.
Yeah.
So maybe my songs were too.
No, it was Meatloaf. Like
He did it for you?
Meatloaf did it, right? I was wavering. I actually was wavering 92, 93, back and forth, back and forth. I'm like, wait a minute. Was I a freshman at Springfield College or a sophomore? I kept going.
All I remember is whenever you started your car and turned on and the radio came on, that song was on.
Right.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to know he would do anything for love, but he wouldn't do that. What's that?
You didn't give us any obvious ones like this one.
Party people!
No, I did not. No. However, ironically,
Thank goodness, by the way.
no, but I want to say this. That was on Sirius Radio on my way in this morning.
Wow.
Who Let the Dogs Out? And it was the extended version of that. And I actually. Oh, there's another. Well, I can't pick the easy ones. I do try to go for a red herring. And I have to be honest, I haven't heard Mr. Wendell since probably the 90s when they
I used to
came
play
out.
that all the time. I love that song.
Yeah.
Mr. Wendell, yeah, it was a good song.
That's good, yeah.
And I like Billy Joel too. The River of Dreams was a good song. So, all right. So we've been talking about concussions, and seriously, folks, take them seriously, right?
Every
Liz?
concussion is a serious concussion. Mild, major,
That's a
doesn't
great
matter.
point,
You
Liz.
have damaged your brain.
And
Every
you need to
concussion
go to
is
the
serious.
doctor.
You need to
Somewhere.
seek treatment.
Yeah.
You do need to seek treatment.
Like urgent care or something, anything?
Or and maybe you can, sleep it off for a couple of days or whatever, but this is a brain injury.
Yeah, but you said some people can't sleep with
Some
concussions.
people can, but I'm saying, some people do. They take a couple days and they feel better and never seek treatment. I would not recommend that.
No,
It's
I
worth
wouldn't
getting
recommend
looked at.
that.
It's
It
your
is
brain,
worth
folks.
getting looked at.
It's your brain.
Well,
without that, that's not good.
Right.
Okay.
well,
And you
yeah.
don't want cumulative effects, right?
No.
You
And
don't-
part of the issue is what people like. It's not just the hit; it's the impact that your body goes through afterward. Like your brain moves inside your skull.
And think about all the hormones that are released and what that does to your whole body.
That's right.
Well, so you had commented it can change people's moods, emotions. I mean, it can really change a person.
It can. And I think probably, Greg, you see that most often. You have like a bubbly athlete or somebody who's, rah-rah, and then all of a sudden they're like barely
Yeah,
ticking the box.
as any injury would. However, again, this one without it being something that your friends see,
It's not visible.
That becomes difficult. I think, especially with the return to play or return to your team. I think that's where we need support for the athletes that are in this situation.
And the training is important. How long is the training? Do you know if the concussion is
The course that we have everybody take is about 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yep, an online course. Yep.
And they have to certify, like, do they get a certificate?
Yeah,
or that
everybody,
they
you can
completed
print
it?
your certificate, PDF, afterwards, and we have that built into our registration system,
They
which
have
I
to
think
take
is
it.
awesome. Yeah,
They have to take it every year.
they do. It's actually a requirement every time you sign up. So if you play 3 sports,
You're
it's a-
doing it 3 times.
Yeah.
Look at, I don't have a problem with that. I think
No,
it's,
no.
it's
Right.
important enough to. So we hope you never get a concussion, but if you do, I think our message is seek treatment.
Yes.
And don't rush back to play even though you want to, because this could affect you in your later years.
And don't go into boxing.
And well,
But I mean, like, be honest.
Yeah.
And I think that's the
Yeah.
hardest part because particularly student athletes feel all the pressures.
Oh yeah.
from their teammates
point.
wanting him back
Yeah.
on.
Teammates, coaches, parents.
So it's interesting you say that because I think sometimes parents are the ones who want their kids to go back to play. And I'm not trying to call that out as a bad thing. I mean, I know parents can be competitive and they're very much into athletics too, but we need to take care of our brains.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
Yep. Yeah.
So, all right. And so, Greg, you had some other stuff you wanted to share. We got some exciting athletic things happening.
Yeah.
What else is going on? We got
do
some
a
good
quick
games
athletics rundown. We do.
Okay.
It's been an amazing start so far. Both team, excuse me, and individual accomplishments. Just kind of coming off of last spring where we had such a great season. Gymnastics began last night. They defeated 4 other teams.
Nice.
In their first meet.
Go Bombers.
Yeah, field hockey's off to a great start. We actually have the Western Mass News Athlete of the Week this week, Audrey Leonard from our field hockey team.
Has that been on the news already?
Friday night at 11, so tomorrow night.
Nice.
Tune in where you may also see highlights of some other teams, maybe our football team, which plays tomorrow night at Bullens at 7 o'clock.
Who are they playing?
We have Amherst tomorrow night.
Oh, that's right. I did actually. So Western Mass News, were we selected as the game of the week yet?
I don't. It could be. I don't.
It
I
could
don't know.
be.
Yeah.
They were asking people to vote for the
Okay.
game of the week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to watch less news.
But yeah, we've had some great performances. Megan Moran has continued to lead our cross country teams. Lauren Connor has been amazing on WHS Golf. The WATA golf team is off to a great start again. They were league winners last year. We just had.
So I want to know, when I was the principal here, we were 0 and whatever for golf every year. 0 and whatever, how many matches we played.
Wow.
It was rough. So this is a huge turnaround.
Yeah, one of our teachers in the building, Mr. Foe, has taken the lead on that and has done a great job so
Nice.
far. Yeah,
All
year
right.
2, it's going well. We just had our first day in Massachusetts for pickleball on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
And
One of what? 4 schools in the state.
4
right?
schools in Western Mass.
Oh, Western
but-
Mass,
Yeah, but
okay.
we actually held the first event in the state was held right over here
Right
at
here.
the pickleball
On the
courts,
new pickleball courts.
which was an
Who
awesome.
did we play?
We played the other 3 Western Mass teams: Pioneer Valley Chinese Immersion Charter School, SICS, and South Hadley.
Wow.
Joined us for that event, which was really cool. We had cake, we had a celebration, really good stuff.
Do you think the MIA is going to add this or no?
There's a good chance. I think
Really?
it's going to catch on. Yeah, and this is kind of the pilot year. And Mr. Delude, Coach Delude, helped us get that going here. So shout out to him and Mr. Nadow for taking on the coaching role.
Oh, I was going to
for
say,
pickleball.
who's coaching
Yeah.
the club?
Yep.
Oh, good.
Ron
really-
Nato from manufacturing.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
But like I said, tomorrow's a big day. Girls soccer at the high school playing Ludlow at 5.
Always a matchup.
It is, and they're off to a great start with a new coach this year. Like I said, football at 7, but we also have, as Mr. Daly commented on in the last hour, over at Roots on the turf, we have Westfield Tech boys soccer taking on the high school boys soccer team.
City Cup.
Which should be a great matchup.
When is that?
Tomorrow at 3:30 at Roots.
So we saw
Out on the
that we
turf.
saw that advertised, and my son said to me, Westfield Tech is playing Westfield High in
Yeah.
soccer, and I said, yeah, back in a long time ago, we used to do that with St. Mary's too.
St. Mary's, that's
there
a-
was the
City Cup was
Yeah.
the biggest
Yep.
game of the season.
Yep.
So is that coming back?
Well, we've
or-
tried to bring a form of that back in other sports. Cross country, we're trying it. Perhaps golf. We're trying to get a match at the ranch to try to like really bump up those sports too.
Right.
But I think that city competition, and any way we can get the schools kind of working together, playing against each other is really good.
in good, good, good faith match.
Yeah. Both coaches kind of wanted it, and I thought it was a great idea. And
I like it, but I used to work. I started my career in Chicopee, although I've been in Westfield far longer than that. But I just remember there was a sword game for the football game between Chicopee
Right.
Comp and Chicopee High,
Right.
and it got pretty heated
I
sometimes.
bet.
We don't want that. We want healthy competition.
And I have one more plug. We have co-opted our unified basketball team, which is in year 2.
Yeah.
So the high school's hosting unified basketball. Our first game is October 2nd at Westfield High, 3:30 p.m. Like I said, we're co-opted with Westfield Tech now. We're bringing students across town to participate on that team. The coaches have done an amazing job. If you have not been to a unified game yet, I would encourage everybody to come out. It's an awesome time, and we're really looking forward to that.
Would you be so kind as to send us an invitation to that game?
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually
We're
wrote
putting
it down.
together, kind of a more official invitation. But yeah,
I'd like to go
great
to
idea.
that.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our show. And what I want
I'm not playing loaf, by the way. I picked something else out of you.
You did?
Yes.
Why? You don't want to? I would do. No.
No.
So I want to thank Liz Flaherty for being our guest and teaching us
Thank
about
you.
concussions today a little bit from the medical side of the field. And
Thank you.
I want to thank you for what you do for our staff and
thank
students
you.
every day.
Appreciate
We
that.
appreciate you. Greg, we appreciate you. I think you're doing a great job as our athletic director.
you.
Yep.
And this pickleball thing is terrific. Just we have a lot of great things going on in Westfield in general, but not just with athletics. But again, the message today, take concussions seriously, seek medical attention, and don't rush back to any activities. Take care of your brain. Just because you don't see it
Your
doesn't
brain.
mean it's not hurting, right?
You need your brain. Take
You-
good care of it.
You really do.
Really.
It does help your body
Do everything.
do everything, right? So without it. Next week, we are celebrating Human Resources Day.
Yes.
There's a very appreciated group, I think, human resource folks.
Yes.
And just to be, and I announced, what is that, on Monday night, we hired 55 new staff members to start this school year, and they were all onboarded and processed through our HR department, and that is only a small part of their job. So we're going to have HR Director Mike Morris and hopefully some of his staff on, and we're going to let them shine and talk about human resources and all that goes into that.
Yep.
So that is it for us today. Thank you for our guests.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks
for
so
the
much.
added visuals. We love that.
Yeah.
And Tigers Pride again, open 10:45
right.
to 12:15. First day today. Come by and support our students. They make terrific food all the time, not just occasionally. That's it. So have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great week, folks.
Thanks.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. When I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. If I get drunk, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who gets drunk next to you. And if I haver, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who's havering to you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. When I'm working, yes, I know I'm gonna be the man who's working hard for you. And when the money comes in for the work I do, I'll pass almost every penny on to you. When I come home, oh, I know I'm gonna be the man who comes back home to you. And if I drove, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who's growing over you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. When I'm lonely, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who's lonely without you. And when I'm dreaming, well, I know I'm gonna dream about the time when I'm with you.